Coming up on Network Africa, Egyptians head to the polls to vote for a new president. Former South African President Jacob Zuma to be summoned this week by the police on corruption charges. And the 6th edition of the Africa CEO Forum begins today in Côte d'Ivoire's capital, Abidjan. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Temito Kwefagbemi. We begin today in North Africa, where Egyptians have begun 3 days of voting to elect a new president in an election expected to produce a landslide victory for the incumbent. There are few doubts that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi will win a second term after most challengers withdrew from the race. The only other candidate against him is the little-known centrist politician Moussa Mustafa Moussa.
Egyptians are wishing for a bright future ahead of the presidential election voting. Voters had their breakfast at the popular Ali Yusuf's food cart this morning, the first day of voting, before heading to polls that is set to deliver an easy win for serving President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Yusuf's customers say they are grateful for everything the president has done for the country and want to give back to him all that they say he's giving to them.
We finished work just now and we're supposed to go home and sleep. But today is a celebration to participate in the elections.
President al-Sisi is about the only viable candidate in the election and expects to win a second term comfortably due to the controversial build-up to the vote and the lack of opposition. The challenge, however, will be in getting people out to vote, as opposition members have called for a boycott of the 3-day polls. Although the authorities have been encouraging voter participation as buses with loudspeakers drove through the capital, Cairo, playing songs urging people to turn out and vote. Only one man has been brave enough to remain in the race in opposition against al-Sisi, but he has been widely dismissed as a dummy candidate. I couldn't sleep from all the joy just to come here and say yes to my motherland, Egypt. I came here to say yes to stability, yes to development. I came here to say yes to our military, our weapons, and our shield. When I arrived at the polling station, I found myself saying yes to Sisi because he has everything I need. President al-Sisi has been in power since 2013, when he led the military's overthrow of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi following mass protests against his rule. He then won a landslide in the 2014 presidential elections. His supporters say his first term has brought stability to a country that has been rocked by unrest since 2011.
Well, let's get more on the story from the VOA correspondent in Egypt, Edward Uranian. Thanks for joining us on the program.
My pleasure, Tammy.
Now, Edward, tell us, what is the mood like in Egypt as voters go to the polls today?
Some people are enthusiastic, some people are not, and some people are honestly just don't care. I find that difficult to understand coming from the West, but I believe it's not one of their main preoccupations.
So, Edward, why does it appear like the election is set to deliver an easy win for the incumbent president, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi?
I think, to be honest with you, that Egyptians tend to rally around their leader, especially in times of elections. Perhaps young people are a little bit more questioning of the ruler or the government and things like that. But I think older folks tend to have a tradition of respecting their rulers. I think it comes from the monarchy. I think it comes from the presidents in the past. I've seen it happen before. I was here in 1987 when President Mubarak won an election by, I guess it was 97%. It was perhaps a referendum by modern terms, but I think people wanted him to win at the time. That was my impression.
Now, Edward, tell us more about the last-minute emergence of Mustafa Musa, who some analysts say has been used to present a false sense of competition. How true is that?
I think it's probably at least partially true, but the problem with the logic, though, is that I think President Sisi would have won an election anyway, no matter who had run against him. And it probably would have been by a much smaller margin. Perhaps it would have been 51 to 49%, as we see in some elections in America. But I think, just sensing popular opinion, I think Sisi would have won anyway. And in an Arab country, winning with 51% is less than honorable. So, in Syria, Hafez al-Assad, the former president, used to win, they used to joke, by 110% of the vote because people in the cemeteries would pop out to vote. I think it was a joke, but anyway.
Now, Edward, with what you've said and with what understand that only a few dozens of voters came out to vote in Cairo. Now, what does that mean for this administration?
Clearly, it would have been better for the government, for the president, to have a very heavy turnout. I don't know that anyone was expecting a very heavy turnout, but as I said, there are a lot of people in the middle who just don't care one way or the other. And I think that's the deciding factor, not the people who are really opposed to the president and really in favor of him. Perhaps those really opposed and really in favor, they make up the minority. Many people just don't care.
The viewer is Edward Uranian. Thanks so much for joining us on Network Africa.
My pleasure.